Bonjour peeps, hi, this is Neshi. Welcome to Star Nations Organization's main fan page where we do an almost daily live stream regarding the card draw energy important for us to know today or on a given day. Today is Monday, September 17th. I know we're right in the middle of the month. Can you believe it? I mean, it's like we inhaled and on the exhale, it's the 15th, 17th, middle of the month, right? Went fast. It's going very fast. Hey, Rochelle and Polly Joe, welcome to the morning live stream. I'm so glad you guys are with me. This morning, I have tea. Yeah, let me explain a little bit about what's going on at the Locat's house and at Star Nations organization. It has been a very interesting weekend. As you noticed, I didn't do a live stream yesterday for good reason. Let's see, where to start. Paul had to work the weekend, and he works second shift, right? And so we have a certain rhythm with that. We usually have a little bit bigger meal at noon, and then Mom and I, who have supper, just the two of us, we'll have something a little bit lighter, like, cup of soup and a sandwich or something like that. Well, the weekend was a little mixed up. Just a little bit because Paul was working, but he went in a little bit later on Saturday and a little bit earlier on Sunday, and it was a kind of a mix-up with his schedule. And then you add George into the situation, and George the puppy, who's 9 weeks old now, he's growing so fast. I think his teething, I only can equate it to a human child teething and how it hurts, And so he had that going on, and I think he had a growth spurt because he had all kinds of energy, and he was just zooming around the house and the yard. And it's like, what got into him? Well, he was up most of the night on Saturday. Paul came home about midnight or so, 12:30, and took George out, to go to the bathroom. And from that point on, George was just, what came to mind was Tasmanian Devil. Do you remember that cartoon where they would have that cyclone or that tornado kind of effect? Yeah. And then you add Mom was in pain and was restless herself. So, it could have been kind of the energy going on too, come to think of it. So that's why I didn't have the morning live stream on Sunday, because I was just plain tired. I only got a couple of hours of sleep, and I didn't think I'd be very good to you guys the next morning and trying to connect with the energy and be all perky and, positive when I was just really tired. So Paul slept a little bit, and then he came downstairs and I went upstairs and slept for a bit. So we tag teamed it. Yeah. And so we have people in today. My helpers with the cleaning are back. They did the gardens last week, I think it was, or maybe it was the week before. And they're back, and they're doing the upstairs part of the house cleaning, getting ready for Minnie Kansman to show up to teach this weekend. And she's bringing her sister Ann with. And so we're getting the upstairs prepared for the ladies to be there. And also Susie and Melinda, who are my helpers with the cleaning, they're actually going to help me with ironing today too, because I'm so far behind for Mom's stuff, right? Yeah. So it's been pretty busy around here, trying to get my stuff done for the class coming up, and busy. And right? I'm sure you guys had just as busy weekend as I did, and stuff going on. And so I just had to hit pause for a minute on Sunday morning. Felt good, actually. It did. Let's see. Rochelle's saying, good morning. Good morning. Okay. Clients are calling in. Elise is here. Good morning, Elise and Mary Ann, if you're watching. And Polly Joe's sharing. Thank you, Polly Joe. I appreciate that. And Elise is saying good morning. And Polly Joe, yep, self-care. Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, it's, we were getting into finding what's the new normal, right? The new normal, the new rhythm. It's a good one too. With George in the house and Paul working weekends, which he wasn't supposed to do. His boss had promised that no weekends anymore. Well, that lasted maybe 6 weeks, and now they're working weekends again. So it's a new normal, right? And trying to get the footing and where's the flow going. And today, when Paul was leaving for work, because guess what? Another change. He has been put on a project to help with get ready for some sort of big inspection, and so he'll be working days for a few weeks. So that changes the flow again. And he looked at me. He goes, "Are you okay this morning?" I said, "Yeah, I just got a lot to get done before the cleaners get here." And I said, "And I'm trying to be comfortable with not knowing how the day is or the week is going to play out. Because I'm a planner, believe it or not. I like to have the at least the loose structure in place, and then spirit can kind of work and weave its way through whatever that is, right? Well, this one is kind of like an amoeba. There's no real structure around it, because I didn't know what time Paul was going to go to work. I don't know what time he's coming home, so I don't know about supper, time. Yeah, so it's that kind of stuff. Have you guys ever gone through that? And I'm all for, and we truly believe in having to be in, being in the flow and allowing spirit to do what spirit needs to do and show us what it needs to show us, right? But there's some things when you're taking care of an elder and now a puppy, there's some structure that's needed. If it was just me, it'd be no big deal. Okay, we eat when you get home or whenever we're hungry. But mom is on a schedule, so instead of cooking 2 meals, I try to cook one. So it'll work out. It always does. It always does. So it's just trying to relax into it and say, okay, let it flow. Show me where I need to be and what I'm supposed to be doing. So anyway, thank you, Polly Joe, for sharing. I appreciate it. And what am I going to do? I'm going to go and share also, like and share, I should say. And I'm going to find us first. There we are. Here we are. So I'm going to like it, and I am going to share it to my timeline and let people know that I'm live streaming. Live streaming. Actually, I do like doing these live streams. They are fun. And it would be nice if I could spell. There we go. There. You know why I like doing the live streams is because we get to spend some time together, right? And also to have a meaningful spiritual conversation about the card draw, right? And for those who may just be watching us the first time and don't know what this live stream is all about, every morning I select a card. Actually, I meet with my spiritual team, and they select the card of the energy that's most important for us to know about today, for the highest good, right? And that we can share. And we've been using this deck, Pathway to Healing Cards, by Brian L. Weiss, MD. Yes, a doctor, Western trained doctor. Yeah. He does most of his work, written work, is about his patients through hypnosis. So he is a trained medical doctor, a psychiatrist, a psychotherapist, and a certified hypnotherapist. And he tapped into something early on in his career with the hypnotherapy that his patients were sharing with him about past lives, or parallel lives is what I'm tending to call them, and the decisions and healing that are helpful in a past, understanding the past life. So understanding how a decision made back then affected this life, and trauma that occurred in a past life, healing that, keeping the life lesson, and how it helps to heal certain things in this life, right? And then one of his clients, he thought she was talking about a past life, and she was actually describing a future life. And so that was his next step in his work, was rather than being, transgressed into a past life, he was talking about progression into a future life. So decisions that we make in this life affect a future life, right? That's what he's talking about. Hey, Mary Anderson Fry. So good to have you with us this morning. Oh, thank you, Polly Joe. She shared too the main, the main closed group for the radio and magazine. Thank you, because that's where a lot of the more active community members hang out. So thank you for doing that. Polly Joe said, "Good for you. Need to take care of yourself." Yeah. It was one of those moments, and I'm sure you guys have felt that. Is you had to stop. Couldn't take another step. Couldn't say, "Oh, let's give it the old college try. Let's do it one more time," kind of thing. I can get through it, to push through it. No, because when half your mind feels like it's asleep, you shouldn't be driving, using heavy machinery, having important discussions when it feels like half your mind's asleep. All right, so this morning's card is this one. I am aware that love is a state of being, not an intellectual process. Love is a state of being, not an intellectual process. Love is consistent, universal, dynamic energy flowing into and through you at all times. That's pretty big. That's huge. When the premise is that the universe is made up of love, that is the main ingredient. And if that is true, and energy and universal energy flows through us consistently, constantly, never ending, that we are surrounded by love, and love flows through us through our pranic tube, our crystalline tube. So when you have a statement like this, I am aware that love is a state of being, not an intellectual process. Because all you have to do is be breathing. Breathing, that's it. And you are in a state of love. You're surrounded, you're bathed in it. And why, the question begs to be asked then, right? Then why don't we feel that way? Why do we not remember that? That's a good question, isn't it? Because if it's already here, then why don't we remember that? And my 2 cents is that it's in all of our healing process, our individual healing. When we do our healing work and we heal those emotional and mental traumas, that clears away the interference, and I call it the debris, to clear that away, and so that we can sense, hear, feel, see our heart chakra, and bring in and remember being in a state of love. And when we remember that we're in a state of love, then joy is right on its heels. You have not just moments of joy, but that you experience joy as a good part of your life. You find a lot of joy in almost everything that you do, because it's all about the love, right? And the part about it not being an intellectual process, when I read that, I kind of smiled to myself, because for those of us who live in the Western world, right? Western society, we are really well trained in the mental process, living our lives from the mental process. Very well trained from the time from preschool all the way through grade school and high school, then post high school, whether you're in on a 2-year campus or a 4-year campus, actually 5-year campus, university, technical school, technical college, doesn't matter. We are so well trained in going to the thinking process first, the mental process first. There was a time in my life when I put out front and center, so that when people met me, that was the first thing they saw, was my intellect. To the point where I had contact lenses, but for certain things I would wear my glasses. Because, there's a stereotype about people who wear glasses, right? That were more intellectual inclined, that we're very bookish. And that's a stereotype, right? But putting my intellect out there first also was actually busting a myth that Native Americans or darker skinned people are less intelligent. And so when people who I was first meeting experienced my intellect first, many times, not all the time, but many times, the color of my skin didn't make that much difference in the beginning, okay? And so I understand what Dr. Weiss says. It's not an intellectual process. Because when it's an intellectual process, you kind of cut off your emotions. You suppress them. You repress, rather than expressing them, you're taking them in and pushing them down. And so eventually, at some point, they have to come out. They do. And for me, it came out in a stomach ulcer, not once, but twice. Yeah. And I was only 17 at the time. Yeah. So with that experience, and when I was 17, I had my little death. And from that point on, it was a difference. I still led with my intellect in certain circumstances, and others I didn't. Yeah. It was a coping mechanism, is a good way to put it too. A coping mechanism. So another way to express this is When you're expressing something through the intellectual process, and sometimes, and this is where this saying comes from, is you fake it till you make it. Faking it until you make it. That's when you're using the intellectual process, not living your life from your heart, not expressing your earth life through your gifts, through your soul, but the intellectual process. And it's out of balance. Out of balance. Now, there's nothing wrong with intellect. That's for sure. It's when it's out of balance. Because the intellectual process, when it comes to love, I'm sure we could come up with a lot of examples of a relationship or an experience when you were using fake it till you make it about love. You think that you're in love. Think you are in love. Yeah. I was just thinking about a few of my friends who've been married multiple times. And in the moment, I think that they really do believe they loved that person. And in a way, they probably did, but it was mostly an intellectual process, the love. That also reminds me of something. Arranged marriages. It's still happening today in some cultures. And the ones I think that we hear the most about are like in history, royal families from Europe or Britain, or I gotta sneeze, allergy season. A lot of the arranged marriages was not based in love, and the individuals didn't necessarily select each other, but they were selected for what the woman could bring to the union. And many times it had to do with land, had to do with money, had to do with control. I think of Mary, Queen of Scots, right? She was the Queen of Scotland, but she was also could have been the Queen of England, because she was the legitimate child of King Henry VIII, I think it was. Could have been James. No, it was King Henry VIII. And so she was the legitimate child. So she was actually queen of two countries. Her mother was arranged marriage to her father, and so that was the control issue. So they would be united with even cousins in order to keep the power in the family, right? So it wasn't really about love. Sometimes I would imagine they grew to love each other, but it was more of an intellectual process. Yeah. And sometimes, if we think about past lives and if we were involved in those kinds of situations where our relationships were based on an intellectual process, such as what I just described, then we have that memory from our soul in what we experienced there, right? Maybe even the trauma. Yeah. So faking it till you make it. I wonder where did that saying come from? Where did it originate? Because back in the 80s, when I was doing a lot of reading with positive mental attitude stuff, coming out of the business end of those readings, I remember reading that statement a few times. Faking it till you make it. Reminds me of the 1980s, really. Um, yeah. So when we are when we understand and believe, can feel it, can remember it, that love is a constant, universal, dynamic energy, that it flows through us all the time. That when we turn our attention and our focus to it, that we can feel it, right? And so, what does love feel like? Have you ever thought of that? Your definition? What does love feel like? If we're surrounded by it all the time, if it flows right through us all the time, if we emit it from our hearts or heart chakras, how do we define that for ourselves? Part of that is an intellectual process, right? But that's also the understanding of it, the understanding, another layer of it. Rather than leading with it, we're leading with the heart chakra, right? And then following it up with the mental process. What do you think of that? Hmm. Interesting way of looking at and experiencing love. Can tell. I got allergy stuff going on. I'm not sure. Um, can't be the mold count because we haven't really had rain. Now, Polly Joe is saying, she feels her way through it, right? Yeah, you do. Um, and love is a feeling. It is a feeling. It's an emotion, right? An emotion. And when I read this card and I was thinking about this, and I thought, what does love feel like? And remembering what it feels like, right? So, and I know that it's explained. I'm going to explain it with more emotions, but that's how it came to me. Is that for me? There's a sense of happiness and fulfillment and joy. When I think about how Grandmother Earth loves me, and I turn my attention to what it feels like to be in her love, I feel happy. Content comes to mind. And when I turn my attention to Grandfather Sky's love for me, it always feels, now this is going to sound a little strange, it always feels like effervescent, the bubbles, Um, and it feels, this isn't going to sound right either, but it feels golden, sparkly golden. And I'm always in awe of it. And the sensation is, now this is going to sound a little strange, but it feels like when you're a little kid and someone is blowing bubbles for you, the soap bubbles. That fascination with them. Kind of giggly. That's what it feels like to me. And yet, when I turn my thoughts and my focus to Paul and what that love feels like, that love feels, there's strength in it. laughter, and safety. I know I'm safe. Yeah. And it's a good time. So, how we define our sense of love, I think when we bring it to our mind, not when our mind brings it to us, when our heart brings it to our mind, um, that's where we get the sense of our definition of love. It doesn't come from a dictionary. It doesn't come from a book. It comes from the inside out. Yeah. From the inside out. And I think is that what you mean, Polly Joe? Is that feeling your way through? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because sometimes what I do is I stop, literally stop, and say, "What was that? What was I just feeling?" And I bring my attention to it. What was that? And sometimes it is you feel it in your physical body. And definitely when I'm thinking about love, like Grandmother Earth and Grandfather Sky and Paul, it really is right here in the heart chakra, the entire heart chakra. But there's other things that I love that actually feel differently in my body than from the heart chakra. It's like I remember when I learned how to juggle. When I learned how to juggle, the first step in learning how to juggle is learning how to drop them, drop the balls. That's what they say. And I did that really well. But I remember it was the first time that I had 3 balls going in the air at one time. And there was this sense of accomplishment in this. Yeah, it was like, yeah, baby. It really came, I felt it more from my solar plexus area than from my heart. And yet I was loving it. I was having so much fun with it. Yeah. So does that make sense? It depends on what it is and where you feel it in your body. It doesn't, I'm going to check in with Polly Joe about this, is that does it always, the sense of the feeling when it comes to love, does it always come from the heart chakra? Or can it come from other chakras or other places in your body that you feel the sensation, right? And for me, that has a lot to grounding it to the earth plane, is when we feel it in our physical body. Where is it? What does it feel like? So we can remember it, number one. But number two is we're grounding that feeling to the physical body, to the physical earth. It's just not in an esoteric sense, right? Yeah. Here we go. Polly Joe says, I feel it in many dimensions, then apply it through thinking about it. Some feelings are in the heart, some are in other locations, like degrees of love. Oh, I like that. Degrees of love. Yeah. I think, oh, I love this conversation. When it is a deep, abiding kind of feeling, that when you bring the image of that being, of that person, or that whatever it is to you, that you have this deep sense of happiness and joy, and it's like a warmth, right? Like when I think of Paul, right? It's definitely in the heart chakra. And so to have it in the degrees of love, yeah. And I wonder when we confuse love with lust. right? When we confuse love with lust. Because I think you can love somebody and have a physical experience with them, but not be in love with them. Yeah? And yet you can be in love with somebody and not necessarily have the physical intercourse. Does that make sense? I think that's where the different degrees of love come from. But I think the most important thing that comes from this card, from the energy, the essence of the energy for today, that's important for us to know about, is that love is a state of being. It's always here, always surrounding us, always flowing through us. And we really don't have to buy anything. We just have to be breathing because it's always here. I think our work, our remembering that it's always here is in the healing work that we're meant to do here, and the expression of our gifts. That's really the expression of our soul right here on earth. That when it comes through our hearts, it reaches many more other souls and has a way of impacting the environment around us, including all of our relatives, the four-legged, the two-legged, the stones, the trees. It affects everything. When we are vibrating in that love. Yeah. So even when I talk about it, I find myself feeling like really happy about it. Yeah. Polly Joe says, no comes from where you are connected to the spiritual realm. Oh, I see. Okay. And less is fueled by the second chakra. You can hold both the more deeper the connection. I see. Okay. So you could have one without the other. And maybe that's possible. That's how some people confuse mentally, in that mental process, they confuse the love with lust. Because you could have one without the other. Yeah. That's a whole show in itself. Polly Joe, have you done a show on that? Feels like you have. Feels like it. That would be another good one if you haven't. So, take whatever resonated with you about this love and having it flowing through you 24/7, 365. It's a gentle flow. The universe comes and is made of love. And so when it's flowing through us, it flows through us and around us. And so we are literally bathed in it. Yeah. So whatever resonates with you, please hold on to it, grab it, embrace it. Watch how your day unfolds and how this information, this essence of this card is being expressed in your day, right? And if it didn't resonate, that's okay. No problem. Just leave it alone. Wasn't for you. You can be a messenger if you want. If you know somebody who might enjoy the recorded live stream, you can share the link with them and be the messenger for it, if you wish. Yeah. So this week, big week in live stream shows. We have, starting out tonight, is Julie Hedges and the Tarot Journey, and she's talking about self-care. I'm going to be listening to that one. And usually near the end of the show, she tries to fit in some card readings for people, to draw a card for you. Paul Krauss, the Paul Krauss Show is on hiatus just for this month. He is on vacation, well-deserved, well-earned vacation, visiting friends and family, and so we wish him all kinds of fun and joy for that. He'll be back in October with his show. And then tomorrow is we start out at noon. Well, this live stream in the morning. And at noon is Polly Jo LeBay show, Chakra Sessions. And I think she's talking about healthy boundaries, if I remember right. Healthy boundaries. And then in the evening is my show, Communications from Home, and which I need to get promoted. I haven't done that yet. Why? Because I was sleeping on Sunday. But we have I have a guest coming, and I'm not sure how long he can actually be on the show with me. We're gonna shoot for 20 minutes and see where we're at with that. His name is James Morrison. Not the James Morrison, but although if I had the James Morrison as a guest, that would really be something, right? No, James Morrison is a friend of mine. He was a colleague at one time. He's a teacher of the Awakening Illuminated Heart, and he's going to be teaching a class soon. And so I thought I'd have him on and help us understand the Awakening Illuminated Heart in the new frequency, the new energy. So he'll be with me, and our show is on at 8 p.m. Tuesday night. And then Wednesday's a big day. Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern is Nature Adventures with Minnie and I. Our show, and we're going to be talking about the sounds of water. And when we were planning the show, it was so much fun. It was. And so I hope you guys like it. If you can join us at 4 p.m. It's a new day and a new time. We were going to move the show this one time for this one show and realized, hey, we can have a show anytime we want, because Thursday nights tend to get a little hard for many to do. And so we're going to move it to the afternoon on Wednesdays, once a month. And so it's still the third week. So it'd be the third Wednesday of each month at 4 p.m. So anyway, join us on Wednesday afternoon for Nature Adventures. And then Wednesday is Polly Jo's back. She's back with Soul Connections. And if you are a healer of any kind, an energy worker of any kind, and you know how a lot of times we put ourselves last on the list to do our own healing work. Sometimes we're so tired when we're doing it, we just fall asleep. But at any rate, on Wednesday nights is a good time to be able to come in with your own intentions of what you'd like to heal, work with your own spiritual team. And what Polly Jo does for us is she creates the sacred space and holds that container for us as we do our work. And she also assists our team in helping us to release, to heal what we're working toward or working on. So it's a good night. It can be a very powerful evening if you haven't experienced it. So you should come join us, right? Yeah, and so it's kind of a big week, and Minnie will be here with her sister Anne to teach on the weekend. They're coming in on Thursday, and so we're going to finish setting up things on Friday. And the class, The Magic of Hogwarts, begins Saturday the 22nd and runs through the afternoon of the 23rd. If you'd still like to join us, you still can. You can go to starnations.org, the Academy page, and look at the details there and how to register. It's a course, it's a class on the basics of the foundations of spiritual work. So we're going to be doing like divination, and Minnie's going to be doing some force therapy information. We're going to be talking about defense against the dark arts. with some shamanic journey. We're making medicine pouches. Yeah, it's going to be a good weekend. And we're going to have fun doing it, right? But what we're doing is we're helping you to have a strong foundation to start your healing work, your spiritual path, right? And if you've been on the spiritual path for a while and you're doing your work, right? This class could be one of those that fills in the gaps that you may have in your toolbox. And so it's about filling in the gaps for you. So if you want, you can still join us. It's going to be a great class. All right. Polly Jo said, I don't think in that detail. I was asking if she'd ever had a show about love and confusing love with lust. And yeah, I don't know. Think about that, Polly Jo. See how your team feels about doing a show about that. I think it might be helpful to some people to do that. So, all right. I'm so glad you guys are with me today. I'm glad to be back with you. I feel so much better. I'm actually awake. It's a good thing. And I would invite George on the show, but guess what? That little boy, he's sleeping. He's sleeping. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if this will work. I'm going to try to move the camera so at least you can see him, okay? Hang on. Let's see. There he is. He's sleeping. I'm not going to wake him up. You know what happens when you wake up a sleeping dog? He's almost 12 pounds. All right. Have a really good rest of a Monday to you and enjoy your day. And we'll see you back here tomorrow morning for the card draw live stream. And in Potawatomi, Bama Mina means until we see each other again. Love you guys.